What are you doing here?
For those of you who don't know her, this is Nova Prescott, the daughter who almost destroyed our family. The daughter we warned you about.
You have no right to be here, Nova. None.
She's a fraud. She doesn't belong.
You lost the right to use this name. Security will remove you.
I didn't come for the name. I came because this hospital cannot open tonight without my permission.
You have no right to be in this building. Leave now.
You should ask who actually owns the machine you're about to unveil.
What are you talking about? This is proprietary technology.
Ask your board, you'll find my name on the patents.
What is that supposed to mean?
It's not yours.
30 minutes later, the same father who had ordered his daughter thrown out would be begging her to save his company. The same guests who laughed at her would learn that the machine they'd flown in from 4 continents to see belonged, completely and legally, to her. And the daughter the Prescott family erased would turn out to be the only person on Earth who could decide if Prescott Health Group lived or died tonight. Nobody in that ballroom knew any of that yet. All they saw was a girl in a plain dress who wasn't supposed to be there. 6 years earlier, Nova Prescott had been the invisible daughter of one of the wealthiest hospital families in Chicago. Her father, Grant Prescott, owned hospitals, labs, and private clinics across 4 states. Then Nova's mother died, and everything changed. Her father remarried fast, a woman named Denise who arrived with a daughter of her own, Peyton. Peyton was polished, funny, and loved cameras. Nova was quiet. She read medical journals instead of going to parties. Within a year, the family had quietly decided Nova was the problem. Then a patient file disappeared from Prescott Memorial. Denise called Nova reckless. Peyton, sniffling on cue, said Nova had been careless with the records room. Grant Prescott never once asked Nova what actually happened. That same week, he sent her away, to live with a retired nurse 2 states over. No inheritance, no apology, no right to the Prescott name. The family moved on like she'd never existed. But somewhere far from Chicago, in a rented garage with bad heating, Nova had started building something the Prescotts never saw coming. The first year, it was just sketches taped to a wall. The second year, it was a broken-down robotic arm she'd bought off a hospital liquidation site for $400, rebuilt twice and burned out once. Nurse June worked double shifts so Nova could stay up nights coding instead of waitressing. By year 3, a small medical device fund in Ohio gave her $40,000 and a folding table at a trade show nobody important attended. A buyer from a hospital chain walked past her table twice before stopping. "This can't actually be running on a device this small," he said. She showed him. He signed a pilot contract 3 weeks later. By year 5, 3 regional hospitals were quietly running her prototype in low-risk procedures, and nobody in Chicago had noticed the name on the patent filings, because nobody in Chicago was still looking for her. A knock interrupted the memory, not really, just the sound of a hospital door somewhere in the present, snapping Nova back into the ballroom, back into the noise, back into the fact that in 11 minutes she was going to have to walk past the man who threw her notebook in the trash. Tonight, Prescott Health Group was unveiling its most important project ever, a surgical robot that could save the entire company from collapse. Nobody in that ballroom knew it already belonged to Nova. And somehow, impossibly, Nova had just been invited back into the exact room where they'd destroyed her name. She arrived in a cab. Around her, black town cars pulled up to the red carpet, unloading guests with security teams and champagne already in hand. Nova wore a plain navy dress and carried an old leather notebook against her chest like armor. A guard stepped in front of her. "This event is private." She handed him a card with no title, no company logo. Just a name, Nova Prescott. Before he could call anyone, the hospital's new entry scanner activated on its own. A green light swept her face. Access authorized. The guard blinked at the screen like it had betrayed him. A staff member rushed over, cleared the message, and waved her through without a word. Nova walked in. 2 women near the coat check leaned together, whispering. "Who is that?" one asked, watching Nova cross the marble floor. "No idea," the other said. But the scanner just cleared her over 3 security guards. "Whoever she is, somebody forgot to tell the room." Across the ballroom, Peyton stood under stage lights, laughing for a row of photographers. Nova slipped along the back wall, unnoticed. For now. Grant Prescott stood at the podium mid-speech. This company was built on hard work, excellence, and family, he said, and the crowd clapped politely. Then someone near the front whispered Nova's name. It spread like a spark through dry grass. Grant's eyes found her at the back of the room, and his smile disappeared like it had been switched off. "What are you doing here?" The room went dead silent. "I didn't invite you to humiliate me," he said. Nova didn't blink. "You invited me because you need my signature." A few guests turned to each other, confused. Grant's jaw tightened, but before he could answer, Peyton stepped forward, all soft concern. "Nova, this isn't the time for old grudges," she said. "Dad just wants tonight to go well." Then her eyes landed on a stack of blank staff badges on a side table. She picked one up, scribbled Nova's name on it in marker, and held it out like a peace offering. "Since you're already here, maybe we find you something small to do." A ripple of laughter. "Start at the bottom. Maybe you'll earn your way back someday." Nova looked at the badge. Didn't take it. "You still don't get it," she said. Peyton's smile flickered, just for a second. "Get what?" "I'm not here to be let back in." Nova set the badge down on the table gently, like she was returning something that was never really an offer. "I'm here because in about 10 minutes, none of you will have a choice." She walked past her sister toward the stage, and something in the way the room shifted around her. A few steps back, a few heads turning, told Peyton the joke had already stopped being funny. The host hurried back to the microphone to save the moment. "And now, the reason we're all here tonight." Under the lights, a tall silver machine stood on a raised platform, Prescott's new surgical robot, the one meant to save the company. An engineer moved to the control panel. "This technology," Grant announced, "will put Prescott Health Group among the best hospitals on Earth." The engineer pressed the start button. Nothing. He pressed it again. A red warning bloomed across the main screen. "Owner authorization required." Whispers rolled through the crowd like wind through wheat. Investors exchanged glances. Cameras came up. Peyton stepped forward, smiling too hard. "Just a small technical delay. Everything's under control." The engineer leaned toward Grant, voice low but not low enough. "Sir, it needs the original developer's handprint before it'll start." "That's not possible," Grant said. "We licensed this system outright. There is no outside developer." The engineer swallowed. "That's what I thought too, sir. Until about 4 minutes ago." Grant's frown deepened. "Then call the developer." The engineer looked physically sick. Nova spoke from beside the stage. "You already did." Every head in the room turned. Peyton laughed sharply. "You? You couldn't even keep track of one patient file 6 years ago." Nova didn't answer her. She walked to the machine and placed her palm flat against the scanner. A green light passed over her hand. "Access granted." The machine woke up instantly. Lights, hum, a low mechanical breath. The entire ballroom went silent in a way that felt like the air had been pulled out of it. The silence didn't last. "This proves nothing," Peyton said, stepping forward, face twisting. "She probably stole the access code. Maybe she hacked it. Maybe she had someone on the inside." Whispers again, uglier this time. Nova's face stayed calm, but something moved behind her eyes. Grant didn't defend her. Instead, he asked the only question he'd ever asked her. "How did you get access to this technology?" Nova looked at him for a long moment. "That's always your first question," she said quietly. "Never how I survived." The words landed like a slap. For a second, something like shame crossed Grant's face. Then his pride slammed the door shut again. "Security," he said. "Get her out." 2 guards started toward her. The ballroom doors opened before they reached her. An older woman in a sharp gray suit walked in like she owned the floor, because in a lot of ways she did. Every investor in the room recognized her instantly. Dr. Renata Voss, the medical investor half the room had flown in hoping to impress. She looked at Grant. "Touch her and this partnership is over. Tonight." The guards stopped like they'd hit glass. Dr. Voss walked past them, stood beside Nova, then turned to the stage. "Founder," she said. They're ready for you. Peyton's face went white. Dr. Voss took the microphone herself. There's something everyone in this room needs to understand, she said. This surgical system was not built by Prescott Health Group. Murmurs, confused, rising. It was built by Nova Prescott. Through her own company, Nova Med Systems. The room exploded into noise. Reporters spun their cameras toward Nova. Grant stared at his daughter like he was seeing a stranger wearing her face. Nova, why didn't you tell us? I did, she said. 6 years ago, I begged you to read my research. You threw it in the trash. For 1 second, the noise of the ballroom seemed to disappear completely. Nova was back outside her father's study door, 17 years old, holding a notebook, waiting for hours for a man who never came out. Behind her, Peyton had watched from the stairs, smiling. Nova opened the leather notebook she'd carried in tonight. Hand-drawn diagrams, notes in cramped handwriting. The very first sketch of the machine now humming behind her. Grant looked down at the page. His face changed. He remembered this notebook. He remembered not opening it. Peyton saw the change in his eyes, and for the first time all night, she looked afraid. Are we forgetting what she actually did? Peyton's voice cracked, tears rising fast. A patient almost died because of her. The whispers turned sharp again, aimed at Nova now. Old pain flickered across her face. The same lie that had cost her a home, a father, a name. Peyton wiped her eyes, pointed. She's smart. She's also dangerous. You cannot trust her. Nova looked around the ballroom, slow and steady. You want the truth now? She asked. Or do you want the comfortable lie you replaced me with? Nobody answered. Nova set her notebook beside the control panel and plugged it into the main screen. A hidden file loaded old security footage timestamped 6 years back. The room watched Peyton, 17 years younger, slip into the hospital records office after hours. Open a cabinet. Remove a file. Place someone else's access card on the desk, Nova's. Grant stopped breathing. Denise leaned toward Nova, voice a hiss. Turn it off. Nova didn't move. No. You turned off my whole life for 6 years. They can watch for 6 minutes. On the screen, teenage Peyton glanced around the empty office, then walked out. The ballroom went silent for the second time that night, heavier this time. Peyton wasn't finished. That video's fake, she said, voice shaking. She's here to destroy this family because she's jealous. She's always been jealous. The machine on stage screamed a warning. Red lights flashed across its display. System failure. Engineers scrambled toward the panel. This was the live patient demo, the one every investor in the building had come to see. Shut it down, one shouted. It's not responding. For exactly 1 second, Peyton smiled. Nova saw it. She moved fast, scanning the error code line by line. Ordinary failure at first. Then she found it. A hidden signature buried in the code, deliberate, precise. She knew that signature. It belonged to Peyton. Her hands went cold. She thought of the technical issues that had delayed her second round of funding 2 years ago. The pilot hospital that had mysteriously pulled out a week before signing. The buyer who'd stopped returning her calls with no explanation. At the time she'd told herself it was bad luck. Standing in front of that signature now, she understood it had never been luck at all. This wasn't only about a stolen file from 6 years ago anymore. Someone had been sabotaging her. Quietly, expensively, from the inside, for a long time. A man near the front, one of the East Coast investors, gray suit, tired eyes, stood halfway out of his seat. If this system fails in front of us tonight, I'm pulling my firm's offer before I reach the parking lot. You won't have to, Nova said, not looking away from the screen. Nova straightened up, looked at the guards by the door. Lock the doors, she said. Nobody moved. Nobody leaves this room until I find out who paid for this. She worked the control panel fast while 300 people watched her breathe. Stripped out the corrupted code. Rebuilt the command by hand. The warning lights died. The machine steadied, and the live demo began without another hitch. Investors stood and clapped. Nova didn't smile. She turned back to the screen and pulled up the payment trail behind the attack. The money had moved through Peyton's private account, but the order behind it, the signature that authorized it, belonged to someone else. Denise. More files loaded on their own, like the notebook had been waiting years to say this. Records showing Denise had used Prescott Health Group to bury illegal medical contracts for over a decade. Grant turned to his wife slowly, like his body didn't want to. "You did this." Denise lifted her chin. "I protected this family." "No," Nova said. "You protected the daughter you could control." "That's not fair," Denise snapped, and for the first time all night, her calm cracked all the way open. "You were never going to make it easy for us. You were always going to be the smart one, the serious one, the one everyone would eventually compare Peyton to. I didn't invent that. I just made sure it stopped mattering. By stealing a file and letting your daughter blame me for it," Nova said quietly. "By having me sent 2 states away so I'd stop being a comparison at all." Denise didn't answer that. There wasn't an answer that made it sound like anything other than what it was. Peyton started crying. Not performing this time, just crying, the way people do when the version of themselves they built collapses in front of an audience. Nova didn't move toward her. She didn't move away either. She just stood there, still, in the wreckage of a room that used to be able to hurt her, and found, almost to her own surprise, that it couldn't anymore. Dr. Voss took the stage one last time. Nova Med Systems will continue this partnership on one condition. Nova Prescott takes full control of the hospital's innovation division. Effective tonight. The board didn't argue. Nobody in that room was in a position to argue about anything anymore. Grant crossed the floor toward his daughter, face stripped of every ounce of pride it had carried an hour ago. "My daughter," he said. "I was wrong." Nova's eyes filled, but her voice held steady. "You were my father when I needed protecting," she said. "Now you're just a man asking for forgiveness." He had nothing to say to that. For the first time in his life, Grant Prescott had no answer ready. Behind him, hotel staff had already started clearing chairs. Investors lingered in small clusters, some already on their phones with lawyers, some just watching the Prescott family fall apart in real time like it was the actual show they'd paid to see. Dr. Voss caught Nova's eye across the room and gave her a small nod, the kind that meant you're not alone in this room anymore, even if it didn't say so out loud. Nova nodded back. Then she picked up her notebook from the control panel, closed it, and walked out the same door she'd walked in through. This time nobody stopped her. Nobody checked a scanner. Nobody needed to. Everyone in that ballroom already knew exactly who she was. They'd just spent 6 years pretending they didn't. By morning, one headline was everywhere. "The daughter they disowned returns as heir to a billion-dollar empire." A reporter caught Nova on the front steps of Prescott Memorial before 9 a.m., microphone already up. "Ms. Prescott, is it true you built this technology entirely on your own, with no help from your family?" Nova paused on the steps, notebook still tucked under her arm, the same one from 6 years ago, now with a new scuff on the cover from last night. "I had help," she said, "just not from the people you'd expect." "Can you tell us who?" Nova glanced back toward the hospital entrance, where an older woman in a plain coat was waiting for her by the door, the way she'd been waiting for 6 years. "One person," Nova said. "The rest I built myself." She didn't elaborate further, and the reporter didn't get another word out before she was through the doors. That afternoon, Nova walked the halls of Prescott Memorial in a dark suit that fit like it had been made for someone who already belonged there. Beside her walked an older woman with soft eyes and tired hands. Nurse June Calloway, the woman who had taken in a 17-year-old with nowhere else to go. Nova took her hand. "You gave me a home when they took mine," she said. "None of this happens without you." Her voice caught. "Thank you, Mama June. Everything I became started with you." June pulled her into a hug that smelled like the hospital soap from 6 years ago. "I always knew you'd rise, baby. Even when I was sleeping on your couch. Coding until 3 in the morning?" Nova asked, pulling back, half laughing through the tears. "Especially then," June said. Anybody willing to lose that much sleep over something they believe in was always going to end up somewhere like this. I just didn't know it'd take a ballroom full of people to notice. They walked on together. Near the executive elevator, Nova passed a desk with the cheap handwritten badge Peyton had offered her the night before. Tossed there and forgotten by someone on the cleanup crew. Nova picked it up, looked at her own name in someone else's handwriting. She thought about the version of tonight where she'd taken the badge. Started at the bottom. Spent another few years trying to earn her way back into a family that had already decided who she was before she ever opened her mouth. Then she dropped it in the trash. Not with anger. With peace. Down the hall, through a set of glass doors, she caught a glimpse of Peyton sitting alone in a waiting room chair, phone in her lap, not looking at it. For a second their eyes met. Neither of them moved. Then June gently touched Nova's arm, and they kept walking. The elevator doors closed on her reflection, and for the first time in 6 years, the woman looking back didn't look like she was waiting for permission to exist. She looked like someone who had just remembered she never needed it.